All right, everyone, welcome back to another episode of Reels and Riddims brought to you by Carry On Friends in partnership with Style to the Vibes and Breadfruit Media. Reels and Rhythms brings you commentary, reviews, and perspective on what's going on in the world of TV, film, and concerts with enough vibes as only Michaela and I can through the lens of Caribbean culture, Caribbean American, immigrant, and first generation experiences. And so, Michaela, welcome back. What is guanin?
Wagwan, wagwan, peoples. How you doing, Kerry? Well, I always buck up a nice team lipstick every time we recording.
It's the sync, it's the alignment, you know? It's the
God, the last
alignment.
one they end up in that look with the purple and
The
now with
purple.
the plum color and then now with
You
the
still
that
never
red
tell me where
skin
you buy
tone.
the purple color there from. You know, purple is my
A lip
color.
bar, man, a lip bar. That I think.
You need
But
to
I
send me
was
the
supposed to give
actual
you
link to
the
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 color.
actual. Yeah.
All
All
right,
right.
wonderful. All right, so we not have no segment this week. We're gonna try come up with a segment for this. I go with this particular episode, but we couldn't do it because the episode that we just need to go straight into it. So, Michaela, you're sure.
Right into it. So Get Millie Black. It's we've watched the entire series. So if you haven't watched it, there's gonna be a whole bunch of spoilers. We're now holding thing back. So if you don't watch it and you wanna watch it, make sure you go back, go watch it, and then come back. But Get Millie Black is a HBO drama, crime drama series based in Jamaica and the UK. And it is starring Tamara Lawrence, which we've seen her in a lot of shows. We just talked about
Boxing Day.
Boxing Day. She was also in Lord. May I draw one blank? Hold on, let me draw from my notes. She was in Boxing Day, Small Acts, The Long Song, Kindred, The Silent Twins. A lot of things that have come out of the UK. She has been a part of. Go on.
And a lot of those films, except for Kindred, were
Mhm.
Caribbean focused. So the Silent Twins
Small
is
Acts,
about,
yes.
yes, small acts we know about. The Silent Twin stars, what's her name from,
Leticia Wright.
right? And it's
Mhm.
about these twins of Bayesian heritage who took a vow of silence, and they were I had it on our list for us to review. It kind of heavy still, but basically they put them in a asylum in, I believe it was in Scotland, and it's really around how the family, because they just took this vow of silence and all of this. So that the long song is I think I believe a PBS type thing, and it's more of plantation era,
Mhm.
slavery era period piece. But those are on our list, whether we get to review them, but they may end up in a reels list or something. But interesting.
Yeah, so she's done a lot of really great work. The series, it's a short series of 5 episodes, was written and produced by Marlon James. He is an amazing author, writer out of Jamaica. If you've read some of his books, I've only read The History of Seven Killings.
The
I don't know if you've read or listened to
Yes,
anything else.
the first book I read was The Book of the Night Women. My gosh. I was on the train, like this was many years ago. My God, it is Woolipa years ago. And I remember I was on the train, and many women stopped me and was like, oh my gosh, this book is amazing. So that was the first book that I've read. And then A History of Seven Killings.
Yeah, so the writing is really great. We're not going to talk about too much about it, but the premise of the plot is Tamara Lawrence. She plays the main
Millie.
character, who is Millie Jean Black. She is a former investigator of at Scotland Yard, which is in the UK. That's their detective unit, and she goes back to Jamaica under the premise of burying her mother, who she has a strained relationship with, which you don't immediately see. But I love the opening of the entire series where it shows the house, because we go back to that house a lot, and it really hit home in terms of the small little nuggets of gems that you would get in terms of the storyline throughout the entire series itself. So what I really enjoyed about the series is that it was told it was a ongoing investigation in multiple layers and told by in the tone of each character's perspective. So as the story progressed, and it's a signature, I think, of Marlon James in terms of how he writes. He writes about the same topic and moves it along, but does it by different perspectives, which I really enjoyed watching that play out in real time with the season itself. First initial thoughts, Carrie. Overall, holistically.
Holistically, I
Yeah.
think it is it's like a good story.
Mm-hmm.
Like the story itself is a good story. May I try because I know we're getting into that, but it's a really strong story. Lots of themes that are important themes that come up. So overall, I think it was um a good story and a welcome variation to what we see as part of Jamaica's cinematic, and I kind of said that all twangy cinematic, you know. I need to make sure somebody has pronounced the T them. Part of Jamaica's cinematic repertoire of, the different genres of movies that we can bring forth.
Yeah, I
Or
really
or,
like that it
or
was a crime
films we can.
drama.
Yes, a crime drama.
Seriously.
Hmm.
And I think not in a good way, with all the crime that has happened and continues to happen. I think Jamaica's ripe for a lot of storytelling in the same way of like um SVU, like that type of criminal drama detective. Like I really liked that play on it. It's so different than what we've seen coming out from a storytelling perspective. It did tell a lot of the different aspects, but I think that we've seen like Third World Cop or Rockers, and like so it has like those elements, but it's not like a true like crime. It's a gritty crime story.
No, it's what we call in America a procedural, right? It's taking you through the procedure of solving a crime, right?
Yes, yes.
Where versus like following the crime as it happens. So it's like this crime is taking place. How are we going to go through this? So it's a balance between both of those. So yes, I think it's very interesting and because it's a Jamaican based film, the stories behind, and this is where I'm very careful, the stories behind why those crimes are committed are even can be like parallel stories themselves, right? So you have the overall project is about solving for this crime, but
Mhm.
why, if we look at the schoolgirl and her choice to be involved in, that's a whole other, thing.
Yes, there was like layers of a story. So we open up the entire season with this case of Janet being missing. So that's the case that they're initially trying to solve for us. A good school girl who usually shows up to school on time, does really well. One of the nuns of the school comes to report that she's been missing. And they kind of question like, well, why are you coming and not her mom? Because the mom is kind of there but not there really. And I think that there's a layer there. She was birthed but not raised in a sense.
Even though, even though I question that towards the
Well, that
end.
is the perception of
Okay,
that's the perception we get in the opening,
in the opening,
right?
you're right, you're
Yes,
right.
yes. And then it also follows Millie and why she is so um engrossed in solving this particular crime, right? She is remembering her childhood as a young person in Jamaica, why she even left, under the premise of why she left. So her not having a good relationship with her mom, along with her brother Orville, who is a transgendered young lady woman. You see her transition throughout the series. But essentially, they both have a horrible relationship with their mom, particularly because the mom perceived Orville as being gay very young, and kind of was not happy about that, and really took that out on him as a child. And then as he got older, he transitioned into hibiscus, which we later know as bis.
Bis.
Bis. Me like the
Like the
name of
voice
that.
though, the voice me was like, hello,
Yes.
this is Biz. State your business.
It's your business. Yes. So you see that transition. And so in essence, Millie kind of stepped in the way of her mom attacking her younger brother, and was sent away for it. So she got sent to England to live with family members, and grew up there for the most part of her young adult adolescent life. Became a detective, which you don't see all of this, right? You just get glimpse of her there. It's kind of like told in flashbacks, if you will. And you know that there's a case that she couldn't solve, that also involved a young boy. So there is this theme of the ghost of children, right? And the essence of children being taken throughout the entire series. But you didn't they talk about ghosts very early, and I'm surprised. Were you surprised that they didn't use the word duppy versus ghost? I was surprised at that, but not
Um,
really. I guess it's just something I noticed.
well, because a duppy is duppy, like the person is dead. I don't
Mm-hmm.
know.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and it's more menacing
Yeah, that's true.
versus a ghost is a little less menacing in folklore,
Yeah, that is true.
like
That is
how
true.
how the perception. But also, I've been curious. I was like quietly trying to dribble this scribble this down. Why you think the mom sent away Millie and not Orville?
I that me did I want that too. I'm like, but clearly she didn't like either of her children. To be quite frank,
She blamed
right?
them well, she blamed
She blames
Orville
them for
this
something,
for the
but we
father
don't
leaving
really, for the
her.
father leaving.
Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah, she
but
blamed them for
she's
the father.
essentially that frustrated at not be, and I think that's what Millie sees in Janet's mom, right? This unfulfilled woman who has these children and are now taking it out on. And so for her, I think it kind of brings up this childhood thing, and she goes off on a rail to try to find Janet, only to come to find out said there is a deeper story in that whole thing.
Yes. Yes. So going back to the mom, I thought about why she never send away Orville and why send away Millie. And I think the only thing I could come to, she resigned to think that Orville being the way he is, not normal, because she was trying to beat it out of him. She determined that him life done and there was no future for him, and instead made the choice to send Millie away because maybe she can have a future
Mm,
versus um Orville now Biss.
I like that. I didn't really think about it, but it was a question in my mind, but I think we got past it so quickly that I didn't really take the time to kind of
It
think about that. I do like that. I like that reasoning. You're probably completely right, because she still called her brother. She called they kept in contact, it sounded like, even though she was in
it
England,
does.
or
I
at
don't
least
think it was. I don't think the mother and Millie kept in contact,
the mother
but
and Millie.
yeah, but
Yes.
she didn't. The mother then became a buffer or a barrier.
Yes.
So
Yes.
Millie had no contact, and then she ended up calling Millie to say her,
Her
Orville
brother. Yeah.
died,
Yeah.
right? And even that die thing, was it because and this is all conjecture. We don't know for sure. We just have to say, was it because by the time the mother calls Millie to say your brother is dead, is it when he finally decided to leave the house and go live in the gully, or fully
I think it's when he fully transitioned.
transitioned
Yes,
to
yes.
being
He
Biss,
was no
right?
longer able to be saved,
Right.
in her eyes, saved.
Yeah.
And so I think that's what she meant by your brother dead.
Yeah.
And the other part is, um in Millie's mind, she never was able to kind of keep in contact with him or go back to see him or see. So she has this it's almost like she has to grieve twice,
No,
and she
well,
didn't even really get to do that.
so she's carrying this guilt, and the reason why, audience, we're kind of dwelling on this part, because this is the foundation by which Millie, this is what she takes into her work as a police officer, and where she, in the UK, in Scotland Yard, and when she moved back to Jamaica, she was defending her brother. That led to the consequence of him being removed or taken, right? Should not have access to him. And you see in the flashes of her work in London or UK, that she's always on these missing child's cases, right? And particularly they are boys, very, so she, again, this thread of trying to save her brother or a little boy. And so the guilt of not being even in a position to defend her brother more. So she took into her job as a police officer her inability to fully defend and care for her brother, right? Then the one case that Donar, the one with Danielle, in UK, she took the grief of that, compounded with the grief of our brother, and come to Jamaica. No, get set on this case with Janet, and now she has something to prove, because she's taken up this mantle of being, trying to save or rescue at-risk kids or kids in danger.
Hmm.
And for better or worse, blindly, I go into it, I do it on our own, because she don't trust nobody else to do it but her.
Hmm.
And that's kind of where we find Millie.
And it ultimately ends up getting her in all kind of trouble throughout the whole show, because she thinks that she's the only one that can deliver on this particular case. And what so in some ways, instinctively, it has led her down a path. And we see at first it's a good thing. She uses it as fuel, but then we also see her spiraling, and like Millie is doing the most by herself, and she's just missing all of the clues and missing, she's moving too quickly, and she's not bringing everyone, the people that want to see her win, up to speed. And I think that but her instincts are correct, in the sense that she's a great detective, but sometimes she does the most out of this personal guilt of not being able to, quote unquote, save or help her brother. I was completely surprised when the brother I thought that the brother was dead initially, until the paperwork. And then it's like I watched that one episode, and I felt like so much happened in that first episode. I was like, wow, this was a long episode. Like a lot happened in this one episode. So it made me really keep watching, because and then I was pleasantly surprised that it was from different perspectives. So the first episode is from Millie's perspective. The second episode is from Biss's perspective. Um,
So it was Millie, Biss,
Biss,
the
Holburn,
yes,
who is the white detective.
guy,
And he comes into play a little early. Then
the
Janet,
yeah,
the
and then
sto-
the
and
cop.
then her partner.
Hmm.
Yeah. So a lot of what we're talking about is happening in episode 1.
Yeah.
And so as we eventually go down this rabbit hole and find Janet, apparently Janet um took up with one uptown boy who his family owns a lot of different businesses, which is um pretty typical to Jamaica in terms of, he's from a very well-to-do family. With Somerville is
Hmm.
his family, and he his family has a reputation of owning a lot of businesses, and so he is one of the younger characters. I can't really tell how old he's. Older than Janet, but he's not old. And so Janet is a schoolgirl, so you could go figure school age. So she got to be like what 16, maybe 17, dating this older business person. End up in a one scandal of a child trafficking sitting,
Human trafficking.
human trafficking. So we discover that Janet isn't missing, but she has actually gone off to be with this boyfriend who is his family is we can't really tell initially if his family is involved in a way where they are doing the trafficking, and that really kind of evolves how Holborn is involved in and why he needs that same son. What name? William?
Mm,
Freddie. Freddie.
mm-hmm.
So Freddie is the son. So Janet is together with Freddie. Freddie owns, a couple businesses as well, which he has acquired under his dad's name. But he typically hangs out in the ghetto part of Jamaica, and so him,
No, he has his dad's name, but he's using his mother's maiden name.
yes.
As
Oh,
yeah, it was so when they couldn't find under Somerville,
under
they
Somerville.
they
Yes.
found it under another name, which is his
Yes,
mother's
his
maiden name.
mother's maiden name. Okay, yes. Yeah, but that's where he has the businesses is under his mother. So he's trying to kind of separate himself and have his own identity outside of his father in a very different part of Kingston. Um but the island is what so big, so everybody know who him is and who his father is, and he's still comparing him to him and his father, and buck up with Janet because Janet work on one front business. No
Well,
pun
no,
intended.
yeah, but Janet was intentional for go seek out the business.
But yes, Janet, yes. Come to find out, Janet enough of herself. Yes, go on with it, Carrie.
No, Janet was on a mission. Without
Yes.
going into the detail, Janet was on a mission, and I think
Go
this is
on
the
in the
crux.
detail, cause the people that go on.
Janet Janet never Janet saw herself bigger than what everyone saw her as, and Janet had bigger aspirations for her life. So for instance, when the nun, the principal of the school, who by the way is Johnny's grandmother in Lime Tree Lane. So Johnny from Lime Tree Lane is the detective in there.
Hmm.
And the nun,
I did not even recognize her. Oh
the
wow.
nun plays Johnny's used play Johnny grandmother in Lime Tree Lane.
Hmm.
And the woman who owned the club is none other than Patra.
Patra, yeah, I think she did so good in that role.
Yes.
I loved her in that role.
She remind me of Chiquita in a
Yes,
belly.
it said the same thing. The hairstyle, the way how she go on. Yes,
Yes.
yes,
Real bad girl
yes.
things.
Hmm.
But when they were talking about some books she loves, she's like, "Oh, you'd be a good clerk of bank or secretary," and
And
that
Janet
boiled
say, "What?
Jeff.
And
You
that
too.
alone, you think so me can be?"
That was what made Janet boil, because she's like, of all of the hard work she had do at school, this is all Link can
That's
see
how
her
the
for.
messy can see me and do a secretary work. No,
Yes,
sir.
Janet was like, no. And that is where she set her mind for say, yo, she go find the money man and get herself off of the island by any means necessary. Not verbatim, but in action, like by
Yes.
any means necessary.
Yes. And
And
she gave
so,
herself a short. I mean, let's give it to her. Jenna is very ambitious, and she go after what she want, and she get it, but she never know what it come with.
yeah, and I think even towards the end, I was like, Janet, you're so naive, because you know, and I mean, like you said, spoiler. When I'm like, Janet, why you go take up with this Amania? You're dead already, Janet. You don't know that thing already. So I was just waiting, but going back to that, the level of premeditation that Janet put into this thing, it is wild, but it's a testament to what we didn't see, which is how bad was it in Janet's life that she went to this level of premeditation? Because as the viewer, being underestimated and only being thought of as a secretary or a bank teller, yes, that's offensive, but what is the home like? What else is like driving this need to the levels of ambition and to basically committing crimes and just being naive? Because at some point I'm like, Janet, for somebody so smart, yeah, come like a little Edie boo. But when Millie had her in the car and Freddie tell me that they would like my accent in London, and Millie said, maybe on him, but not you, and she
Mhm.
was like, how could you live and never gone to these places? And Millie, I look upon her like,
You don't know what you in for or what you're really talking
Freddie
about.
basically pack up our head. So that's kind of
Mhm.
where her youth and being naive really blinded her, because she just thought him just sell her everything. And also I think she underestimated Freddie when she go out and go on like she can't smoke and basically a choke on the cigarette. Freddie kind of
That
Freddie
was
pick
fun.
up Freddie pick up say, okay, you want go America, you want go foreign, you won't go foreign by any means necessary, and because of that, she can be leveraged.
Yes.
But because she's so naive and focused on just this one end goal, she can't even see the whole thing. So,
And I think the one perspective we didn't get was Freddie's.
mm,
I think that his perspective to me would have been very interesting because as you're kind of going through the series, you have this one idea about Freddie up until the boat
both, yeah,
where he's killed, and you're like, oh, there's
yeah.
a
Yeah,
whole
Freddie never want no
nother.
part of this.
Yeah, Freddie just wanted to separate himself after finding out like what was happening, and how long was that, and how involved was his family with the human trafficking. And then even talking about the expectation of what foreign is and what foreign look like, the people them where them trick for go off foreign, and how them trick them, and the situation where them put them
I
in
don't
a.
think it's trick. I don't think it's
Me not
tricked.
think me not think so then trick, but them it's almost like you're playing at the heartstrings of someone so desperate to get out of a situation. Cause the way how them pack up like sardine and go work under the table, and then have to pay back this one and that. Them things said them are gonna make enough money for go pay them
I
back. Me say them take them passport and everything. So they're under the pretense of like a working visa, but like
they
they're doing hard labor for, and they gotta like they have no access. So
yeah.
you're thinking that it's this come hurry up and come up thing, that nah, it's not what you think it is. And even as she was trying to warn Janet, it just wasn't going to stick with Janet until she reached out far and I really see
I,
say.
my perspective was, at the heart of this story is the crime story, the human trafficking story, but I also, and the topic that I'm doing the webinar, this idea of leaving Jamaica by by I don't want to say any means necessary, but you have to get out of your situation. And this situation, and again, I'm not judging them, but for whoever is going into the situation willingly doing that, looking at all the risk, right? They know everything about my family. The question about that is that might be something that came after they've made the decision, because maybe upfront they wouldn't have known that that is how you're going to grab them. But to think that this is a better option
Mhm.
than where you are in Jamaica. I think that's the part that is just like, wow. And that's why we said, like, within this very brief 5 episode series, there's so many, threads that you can pull on as a storyline
Mhm.
about all of these people. Even the part where, we're sitting down watching it, and me and my husband is just like, as a parent, me go send somebody away with me pitney and I see
I'm
where them a
not
go.
I'm
I
not
was
gonna
done.
say. And
I
that
was
me I
done.
say, and that me I say, and
It
that me did I say, Lord God.
I was done. And it wasn't like they were say like they wanted to go, but the way oh Janet and Freddie are scammer, I convinced them. But even then, it's easy for me to say on the outside looking in, but I'm like, on the first day of school, me want to spot my pitney teacher. I want to see her face. We dey wait to make sure so the pitney go inside the building. On the first day of school, which is a 5-minute drive. Much less their town and the pitney they all the way over Hanover, the other side of the island. You understand what I say? Like,
And also like to not do any research about the school or
yeah,
nothing. Like it also again playing on the desperation of ambition, right? And wanting to be and I think that's what it is. It's really, like I said, just playing on the desperation to change your situation, have an opportunity, and make the best of what the cards you have been given. And like you said, I was just like, oh, you send your picnic to some school and you never even see the school, the principal, the teacher, the number, you just hand them over. But then you think about like, well, maybe she thought it was like a boarding school and it was like all of the, yeah, like I don't know. You don't know. You really, really don't know. That's another perspective we could have gotten in terms of, um, you know, them taking the son and like their reaction. So I think Freddy's was one that I was missing in terms of the series. I think his perspective would have kind of brought it really full circle. I think the what was like one of the craziest moments for you that you like that unexpected moments throughout the series.
there were a lot of them. A lot.
Go
Um,
on.
Elephant in the room aside, because we have to get to that. Um, I don't even know if it's surprising. I think it's the telling of the story, right? So there were things that are it feels like the underbelly of Jamaica was being put on full display.
Mhm.
We the part of it which we haven't gone through yet, we haven't touched on yet, and we're intentionally doing that because I feel like it's easy. It's not separate and a part of the story because that drives part of the story, but it's easy to make that the center focus of this review. It's addressing things that are taboo. The gully queens,
Mhm.
you know, that
Had you
whole
watched Gully Queens before the documentary Gully Queens before?
I think I've seen
Yeah.
it and I
Okay.
definitely knew that like it's been reported. So
Mhm.
um addressing things that Jamaicans typically know or talk about but don't really talk about, this uptown downtown type thing,
Mhm.
and the face of who is an uptowner versus downtown,
Mhm.
um the level of crime, like even when they come shoot up the house, like all of those, and the violence against the gully queen, so all of those things were things that were just put on full display. And Marlon, the directors, they did not spare the violence, if that made sense. They
Mhm.
didn't tone it down, they didn't
Mhm.
tone anything down. It was just like, here,
But
just
I mean, if you think about today, not time what year,
right,
period
right,
time,
in this day and age, yes.
the graphic nature of which we even distribute news via WhatsApp, like what gets shared from, like there are videos where I'm like, why are you sending me this? I do not want to see this.
Yeah.
And it's like accidents, something happening I want lane, or two people
Yeah.
are fight, one catch up in a machete. Like they're not sparing that in our, so I would not expect them to spare it in this movie
To
or the
be
series
honest,
in that way.
to be honest, though, I don't think that's much different from when I was growing up in Jamaica. Like when I was a little kid, literally, Mrs. Somebody get chop up.
You seeing it there and
Right.
then it being recorded and
Recorded. I think
distributed
that's the
peer to
difference.
peer is the difference,
Yes,
right?
it's the
Yeah,
difference. The
yeah,
recording aspect, because
yeah,
you see somebody chop up, somebody get stabbed with ice
yeah,
pick. Like those are things that you saw.
yeah.
Um, so again, it's just the video element of it that makes it a little different and more graphic, but particularly the LGBT plus theme in Get Millie Black is something that's very different
Hmm.
that hasn't really been addressed in any other series.
Hmm.
Mainstream see channel
Mainstream or otherwise,
wise, yes.
right?
That's
So
why I was
I
like
think
thinking like,
like it's
wait,
not just Jamaica. Like I'm pretty sure that a version of that could exist in any underbelly of certain cities during a particular time and place. And I think we've talked about it or we've seen it discussed in open forums, but we haven't actually, aside from the Gully Queens documentary, which I did watch. I don't even remember
it's a
how
long
long
time
ago.
ago, a
It's a long
long,
time
long
ago.
time ago. Yeah.
And we were even talking about it. Like, you go to Jamaica, you don't necessarily see that, right? And you and I go back frequent enough, but it's not really in your when you pre every day when you did it, and there are certain things that even in the country you don't see
See, yeah.
as a visitor, as someone who lives there. And this was an exposure on a bigger level of what, like, potentially, like, exists or could happen, right? And it's not just homelessness, it's homelessness and lack of respect for their choice of how they want to live as well. So I think the scene with Biss and them running, hiding away from these men, um and eventually being brutally beaten in more ways, and it's a reoccurrence, like, that they were prepared. I'm kind of surprised they weren't more prepared coming out of the gully as much times as they seem to get attacked. Um so that one scene for me, and then the scene where Millie just take the lady passport and just go back to England as
I don't know why it's a Millie just does the
I was
wildest
just like,
things.
she's doing the
Will
most.
m-
Like,
first of all,
I was
Nika
like, she
say,
not gonna fight not England. Wish she go back there.
well, and then Nika say, that man you must really check off her because you come bring the little the come in place of business, and then the man sit down there and watch the police are raiding business. Like Millie, the thing that was clear was Millie was just focused on Millie and what
Yeah,
Millie had to get done, and it
yeah.
did not matter who who was gonna get caught in it. The only
Who was
thing,
in her way? She
yeah,
gonna move them.
yeah, it didn't matter.
She no business.
Mm-mm. Um,
She all going to one fire to find the information about the lawyer, man. Me say, Millie ever put herself in a drama and she just get caught up every time. And somebody, the faith that she has that somebody's gonna save her, Millie, are you
no,
sapient?
I don't think that somebody was gonna save her. Millie had faith in herself to
Yes,
convince other people to
I,
see her cause.
I
That's
guess,
it.
I
It
guess,
wasn't
I
faith say you
guess.
go save her. I know I am right, and I'm going to make you
They're gonna
see.
make sure
So
you know.
you know, say me right.
Say who is me.
Yes, me right.
Beat
But
chess, Millie, I beat chess.
yeah, Millie, so um I'm curious, have you read any articles about the series or reception to the series?
So I did a search on Google about the reception, particularly the reception amongst people in Jamaica.
Jamaica.
But there's two things that I kind of came across. It is on HBO Max, and so therefore, if you don't have HBO Max, you have to kind of pay for it as an app. So it's not freely accessible, and it's not like it's in a movie theater where people are gonna go just pay the money to go and see it. So I think only certain people in Jamaica can actually watch it. That's one. So I think the uproar that we probably would have seen, especially around because let's be transparent and clear. I think that the queerness and how it is addressed is very visual. It is very open. And I think that there are still a lot of people who would have or don't want to watch it for that reason. But I do think that people who have seen it really liked the series itself. They, even Jamaican Americans, I've seen some comments around people in the UK kind of watching it, and they kind of said the same thing. I think we understand that there is still this room for critique around how we talk about queerness in Jamaica. And you know, I think that that's open for discussion, but I think at the core of it, it seems to be well received, as a crime drama, as a really good story, as it really takes you through the journey. And I think we also have the privilege of perspective living here, and understanding that we just live among people who are of different races, sexual identities, and have been brought up in a way, and have grown to just respect people and respect what they want to do. And I can't say the sentiment specifically in Jamaica from Jamaicans, but I think here, I think it's really just a really good story. And that to me, I think it really brought, like you said, the underbelly of what isn't really shown about Jamaica to light. I I was okay with the graphicness of it because it does happen. And so it didn't bother me in that way. So I really, and it was core to the storyline, but it also wasn't the core. Yeah, I think it was a huge part of the
It was
storyline
core to the
that
story. It
really,
was I it wasn't it wasn't core to the storyline. It was
it
core
was
to
core to
Millie's
Millie.
character
Yes,
development.
yes, yes,
Because if Orville, now Biss, did not have this experience, it would
absolutely.
not have set Millie on this path that
E-
she's on.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Yeah. All right.
I
So
agree
it's
there.
time for the ratings. Time for the ratings. So, accent, what is your score? The policeman accent did a little weird, the partner. I don't know, something about it did feel offish to me, but he's the only one.
Nah, I'm gonna give it a 5.
Mm.
Accent wise, I'm gonna give it a 5. Because you know why? It also highlighted the different accents, even as Kingstonians.
No,
Like,
I agree. His one was the
no,
only one where I was just like, what? What is he?
but remember, it is a character that is playing a character that is playing a character. So it's like you don't even know who he's a character playing one type of character in the movie, and then he's also playing. He almost has like these two different identities as a police officer and a gay man as a police officer. So to me, like him needed to put on some kind of accent that just was prim and proper. I don't know if it makes sense, but
Mhm.
like that's why I didn't feel like he was off.
Yeah. Gave it a 4.5. I'm a hard grader. Um,
Okay,
um, character, complexity and authenticity and portrayal of the characters.
I'm gonna give it a 5. I
Mhm.
liked it. What say you?
Um, I liked it. I just felt like, to your point, there in the first episode there was a lot. We got a lot about Millie. Um, enough about Janet, but I wanted to see just a little bit more. So that's it. Storyline.
Yeah, I think I wanted to see more, but I think what we saw was good. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I'll stay with my 5.
Yeah, storyline.
I'd still say a 5. I like the
Yep.
storyline. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Music.
Funny enough, I didn't pay that much attention to the music.
It was not memorable. That's why I was just like, wait, I don't remember nothing about it. I mean, there
Yeah.
were some songs, but it wasn't memorable. And I think the
I
reason
was
why it
I was
wasn't
so engrossed
memorable,
in the story. Yeah, go on, go on. Why
yeah,
was it
I think
memorable?
it wasn't memorable because everything else was just, yeah, Jamaican in your face. So the music was just like white noise because we didn't necessarily need it as much. I mean, other than when the Gully Queen them have them version of they song them when they sing or something. So because the music was really, I can't even say like the music was native to the space, it felt like white noise that you didn't even notice it because
Yeah.
it was just the music. Cause me know say the music play when then go at the club and Pacha walking. Me know the music
Yeah,
like
yeah,
you
yeah,
know the music was there. You hear some
yeah,
tune. You hear the music when she go at the little spooky bar. You
yeah,
understand me? It's
yeah,
like the music is there.
yeah.
It's just that
It
we
was in
never
the
really
background.
yeah, it was in the background, so we never really pay attention to it. So if it's in the background, but we know it was there, like, can we give it like a what's the grade for that if it wasn't memorable?
3.5.
Yeah, I gave it a
Honestly, yeah, because it wasn't memorable. And I think what's interesting is of all the movies and series and shows that we've watched, I think that this is the first time where we didn't really notice the music. So I
yep.
would I would give it a hard 3.5, just
No, I gave it a
because.
3. I gave it a
Okay, all
3.
right. So I'm with you on the 3. Yeah.
Visual authenticity.
The only, me I gonna give it a 4.5. And the only reason why me I go take off the point 5 is because me know said Millie never get from Yasso to Deso in a that amount of time because the amount of pothole in a Kingston and then Trafalgar and Hope Road never meet. So that
No, they
she
chose
wasn't.
scenes.
Yes,
They
and they
chose
chose part.
scenes.
Yes,
Yes.
yes.
I gave it a 5. And what got me was when they went into them park on the hill, the slope of the hill, cause them a go on the Somerville property. Me said
Mhm.
there's a hill like that everywhere. With
Everywhere.
the whole
No, other than that, like the scenes, like it was so funny because I just came back from Kingston from a funeral, and I was driving downtown, like I saw where the funeral home was, Juicy Patty, like that Kingston, downtown Kingston, the scenes where Janet is running. Me know say plenty patrol did round there. And so me no know how the police officer drive so fast and find her because it never would have got so.
no, it empty cause them a film them
Yes,
a
yes,
flim at night. Anyway, the other thing that was I'm sure you picked up on it. Anytime, so the childhood house, there's a house like that everywhere in a Jamaica.
yes, yeah. And then me
And
I say, why she leave the gate so? The
no,
gate
no,
would never
no.
unlock so.
Yes, because guess what? There's a rule. If a person open gate and door open, you walk in at that, you don't know if a shotgun at them meet you
And
at the
that me
front door.
I say,
So it's fine. But also, anytime you saw imagery of that house, it's dark. It's
yeah,
like a really grayed out type vibe.
yeah.
You always feel like it about forget that. No little sunlight, no little
Hmm.
sunshine. It was just
The
dark.
cinematography was really good, I must
Yeah,
say. It
yeah.
was really good. It was nice to see. And it wasn't just like the beaches. And I think that the treatment that they gave it, overall, it had this like dark thing about it. And I actually enjoyed it a lot. So yes, 4.5.
Yeah. That's the overall score.
So where you
Um
getting on?
yeah, it's 4.5.
Hooray! All right, get Millie Black. So I'm hoping that they do season 2 with a completely different storyline. I think that it could be a crime drama series,
Mm.
in my opinion. But what are your
Hope
thoughts?
them fire Millie.
They can find a way to bring her back.
Or Millie
Some
go
sort of
turn private
case.
investigator.
Yeah, he turned into a private investigator. And I think we didn't even really get to understand how intricate this syndicate was. Like
Yeah.
I literally
That's
had to watch
why. That's
the
why I
episode
didn't give
came over. I
yeah,
had to like rewatch. I'm like, let me rewind. Cause I want to really understand
not
how the
even
family
him.
then mix up and who is who and which gang of the UK apart with them one another. Like it was a lot to kind of connect, and they still really did not show the intricacy of the 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 plot around the human trafficking itself.
Well,
Uh,
that's I think that is for later development. But
yeah,
also it also kind of felt sped up towards the end where we have to hurry up and get the
yeah,
pitney back and
yeah, yeah,
so I was
yeah.
I get budget wise maybe they had 5 episodes so they kind of sped up
Yeah, I
certain
understand.
things.
That's why I'm say you could have a season two,
Yeah.
or just have yeah, just have a new case or something. Cause plentiful inspiration. That not true.
Yeah, I mean, there like I said, Janet's story alone. Just give
Janet's
Janet.
story alone. Yeah, what happened to Janet?
Yeah,
Maybe
yeah.
Janet become the detective. Get
Janet's
Janet back.
no, Janet dead, dead, dead.
Yeah,
But
I know. I know.
yeah,
Poor Janet. I never know so sure I go so
me did know. Janet was just too.
too naive.
n- No, but she was so tunnel focused that she couldn't even see the bigger picture.
Yeah.
But anyway, she never realized that she was so distrusting of women that she couldn't even see that Millie was trying to help her.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. Man, you just
but
dropping gems at the end of the episode? Lord God. All right. We can't go no more. We can't go no more.
all right, everyone, that's it for this episode of Reels and Rhythms. And stay tuned for the next one. I will leave we have to watch. Not enough time, but make we know what you think about the episode or the series or whatnot. So, all right.
Oleep. Oleep.
Until next time, lick more, walk good, all these things.
Later. Bye, guys.
Bye.